GMNA uses artificial intelligence for generated speech, visuals, and production. AI-generated content may contain errors. Please verify important information before making decisions or taking action. Live from the GMNA News Center, this is the Lunch Break News Hour.
Good afternoon, Montreal. I'm CJ Waterhouse. Tonight we'll break down CF Montreal's thrilling 2-1 Canadian Championship victory and discuss Quebec's new safety rules for inexperienced truck drivers. Plus, a quick look at the community spotlight on Steve's Music Store. Over to you, Jeff.
Taste of the Caribbean returns to Parc Jean Drapeau this Saturday, featuring over 30 vendors serving traditional dishes like jerk chicken, roti, and plantain chips.
Admission is free for families, while a single entry ticket costs $5. Children under 12 receive complimentary tastings from participating food stalls.
Live reggae performances will fill the park from noon until sunset, with local bands scheduled alongside guest artists arriving from Jamaica and Trinidad earlier this week.
Lots to get to, let's begin, as the community gathers for music, flavors, and family fun at the Taste of the Caribbean this Saturday. Good morning, Montreal.
CF Montreal secured a 2-1 victory in the Canadian Championship earlier today, edging out their opponents at Stade Saputo. The win, coming in the 11th minute of the second half, gave the club its third goal of the match and put them in a favorable position as the tournament progresses. Goal scorer Alex Duval opened the scoring in the first half, while a late strike from midfielder Marco Levesque restored the lead after the opposition had equalized. Coach Patrice Leduc praised the team's composure, noting the defensive discipline that limited the visitors to a single goal. With the 3 points, CF Montreal moves forward in the knockout phase, positioning themselves for a potential semi-final berth. The club will look to build on the momentum when they host their next round match later this month.
Quebec officials unveiled a package of regulations aimed at curbing the danger posed by inexperienced heavy vehicle operators. The new rules, announced today, require drivers with fewer than 12 months behind the wheel of a truck over 20 tons to complete an intensive safety course and pass a practical assessment before obtaining a commercial license. Companies will also be mandated to assign a seasoned mentor to each novice driver for at least 6 months and to install telematics that monitor speed and braking patterns. Violations could trigger license suspensions and substantial fines. The measures come after a spate of serious crashes this spring, where investigators linked driver inexperience to multiple fatalities and injuries. Transport Minister said the province will enforce the standards beginning early next year, hoping the added oversight will prevent further loss of life on the province's highways.
Quebec Correctional Services peace officers are set to cast votes later today on a settlement proposal that would renew their collective bargaining agreement. The ballot follows a protracted negotiation period that has stretched over several months, leaving the province's prison workforce without a finalized contract. Officials say the proposed terms address wages, overtime, and safety provisions, aiming to bring stability to facilities across the province. Union leaders have urged members to endorse the deal, emphasizing that approval would end the uncertainty that has lingered since the previous agreement expired. Should the vote succeed, the new contract would take effect at the start of the next fiscal cycle, providing a framework for staffing and operational standards. The outcome will be closely watched by public sector unions and government officials alike, given its implications for correctional policy and labor relations in Quebec.
The City of Montreal announced yesterday that the Outremont modular housing development has been cancelled after officials identified contamination concerns at the site. The decision reverses an approval granted under former Mayor Valérie Plante and comes as the new administration, led by Mayor Soraya Martinez-Ferrada, reviews recent projects. City officials said soil testing revealed hazardous substances that could pose health risks to future residents, prompting an immediate halt to construction plans. The cancellation affects an estimated several hundred affordable units slated for the neighborhood, and municipal engineers will conduct a full remediation assessment before any further development is considered. The administration emphasized that public safety remains the top priority and that the city will work with provincial partners to address the environmental issue. A detailed report is expected to be released within the next few weeks, outlining cleanup costs and potential timelines for resuming work.
An unnamed resident on Osborne Street in Verdun spotted a 30-centimeter deep sinkhole early this week and placed a bright orange warning cone to keep traffic clear. The hole was first noticed on Tuesday morning, prompting the resident to act quickly. The alert prompted immediate attention from borough officials, who confirmed the hole poses a safety risk for drivers and pedestrians. City engineers have evaluated the site and scheduled repairs to begin within the next few days. The work will involve filling the depression, reinforcing the pavement, and restoring the street surface to normal condition. Officials reminded motorists to follow detour signs and exercise caution until the repair crew completes the job. The borough's Public Works Department will monitor the area after the fix to ensure long-term stability. Residents are thanked for their vigilance in reporting the hazard.
Coming up, the Place Day AR 134 million renovation and its impact on the art scene headlines. We will be right back.
Watch the local sunset tonight at 6 p.m. for all your local Montreal news.
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for staying with us. Let's dive into today's headlines, and now Jeff Laflamme will take us through the local stories.
The blaze that ripped through Montreal's Olympic Stadium in March 2024 left a scar on the iconic venue and cost taxpayers $105 million. Fire officials say the flames originated near the base of the Montreal Tower, the structure's towering silhouette that dominates the skyline. Investigators have now disclosed that an unidentified man on inline skates was observed in the vicinity moments before the fire ignited, prompting a probe into a possible connection. The inferno caused extensive damage to the stadium's roof and interior, halting planned events and prompting costly repairs. City auditors estimate the financial burden will be absorbed through municipal budgets, adding pressure to ongoing infrastructure projects. Nearby residents reported hearing alarms and seeing thick black smoke drift over the surrounding neighborhoods, prompting road closures and a disruption to transit routes serving the venue. Police have not released further details about the suspect, and the investigation remains active.
This morning, Quebec's Public Health Authority halted its public criticism of the regulatory relaxations granted to Horn Foundry, and it refused to release its assessment. The decision follows the provincial government's recent easing of rules that affect the foundry's operations. Until now, the health agency had openly questioned the loosened standards, warning of potential risks to nearby residents. By withholding its opinion, officials signal a shift in the agency's stance, though no explanation was offered. The change arrives as the Frechette administration pushes for broader industrial reforms, prompting questions about how health considerations will be balanced with economic goals. Local neighborhoods near the plant have expressed concern about air quality and water safety, hoping the withheld report will address those issues. Stakeholders will now look to future reports for insight, while the public awaits clarification on any health implications tied to the new regulatory framework.
The flagship performing arts complex is in the middle of an overhaul. Work on the theater building at Place Day AR began this summer and will continue through summer 2028, funded with $134 million. The renovation aims to restore historic venue while adding backstage facilities, better acoustics, and accessible entrances. Construction is being phased, so certain productions can still be staged in nearby halls, allowing ticket holders to attend shows even as crews replace the facade and revamp the lobby. The overhaul also incorporates efficient lighting and climate controls, cutting operating costs and reducing its carbon footprint. Montrealers who frequent concerts, ballets, or community events will see fewer disruptions once the work is finished, and a comfortable experience for audiences and performers alike. The project forms part of a broader multi-year plan to refresh Place Day AR campus, keeping cultural heart of city vibrant for years to come.
CN Rail has got its freight and passenger trains moving again after the July 5th derailment north of the city. Crews cleared the twisted cars in Repentigny on Sunday afternoon and laid new track, allowing service to resume on Monday. However, all trains are limited to slower speeds and will undergo qualified inspections before each run. The precautionary measures aim to ensure safety for commuters and businesses that rely on the rail corridor for deliveries and travel. Residents near the line reported hearing the crash and seeing emergency lights, and some local businesses experienced brief delays in shipments. Rail officials said the reduced speed protocol will stay in place until full structural checks are completed, and they expect normal schedules to return once the inspections are signed off. Commuters who depend on the route for travel reported longer ride times, while freight operators noted the slowdown could add hours to deliveries.
The Toronto Tempo, the WNBA's first Canadian franchise, is set to bring professional women's basketball to the Bell Centre this weekend. Fans will have the chance to watch 2 games on the arena's big screen, with the first matchup slated for Saturday evening and a second showdown on Sunday afternoon. Organizers say the doubleheader aims to introduce the city's audience to the fast-paced style that has made the league popular north of the border. Ticket packages include family-friendly pricing, and local schools have been invited to arrange group outings. The venue is well served by the metro, and a selection of local food vendors will line the concourse for the weekend crowds. The presence of a Canadian team on a Montreal stage underscores the growing appeal of women's sport across the country, offering a rare opportunity for residents to see elite talent without leaving the province.
Now let's check in with our meteorologist for a quick look at this afternoon's forecast.
A weakening ridge and a swift southwest jet are pulling a mid-level moisture plume toward Montreal this afternoon. On this date, the all-time heat record stands at 34.1 Celsius, set during the unprecedented 2020 heat wave that pushed the province into triple-digit Fahrenheit territory. The cold record is 11.6 Celsius, logged in the sudden 2022 Arctic blast that saw temperatures plunge despite summer sunshine. By contrast, the climatological average for July in Montreal hovers around 26 for the high and 16 for the low, underscoring how today's historical readings sit comfortably between those extremes overall. The live radar shows a narrow band of moderate rain moving eastward from the Ontario border across the Richelieu Valley. At present, the cells sit west of St. Jean, advancing toward Montreal at roughly 15 kilometers per hour. They should arrive over the city around 3 p.m., intensify briefly, then thin out and exit the island by 9 p.m. The surrounding air remains dry, a sign the mid-level jet steering the moisture is already slipping northward. At noon, the sky is overcast with a temperature of 24 Celsius and humidity 73%. The wind is light, 9 kilometers per hour from the northwest, and pressure is near average but easing lower, signaling an unsettled atmosphere. A vigorous southwest jet at 98 kilometers per hour rides the mid-troposphere, funneling a moist plume from the Great Lakes toward the province. This jet explains why the radar is already tracking rain that will dip into the city around 3 p.m., peak shortly after, and then linger as drizzle through the early evening. The UV index remains modest at 3, and the strongest gusts will only reach 13 kilometers per hour from the west, well below any wind advisory threshold. No weather alerts are in effect, so outdoor plans can continue without special precautions. Looking ahead, Friday brings a clear sky and a high of 28 Celsius with a low near 16, marking the start of a dry spell. Saturday remains sunny, high 27 and low 18, offering comfortable evening temperatures. Sunday continues the sunshine trend, reaching 28 at the peak and settling to 18 after sunset. Monday's high nudges up to 29, while the low climbs to 20, but a 35% chance of rain appears in the afternoon as a weak frontal wave pushes eastward. Tuesday turns overcast with a high of 30 and a low of 20, and a 20% rain probability keeps the chance of showers. The pattern reflects a strengthening ridge that will dominate the region through the weekend, then give way to a flow adding moisture early next week. And that's your weather. Remember, the lunch break is also available as a podcast. Listen anytime on iHeartRadio or wherever you get your podcasts.
Traffic updates, Soulfest Montreal preview, the Habs, new assistant coach and chamber spotlight on Steve's Music Store. We will be right back.
Watch the local sunset tonight at 6 p.m. for all your local Montreal news.
All clear on the road network this morning. No accidents, no construction, and traffic is flowing freely on Autoroute Quinns, Autoroute 5, and the downtown corridors of Boulevard St. Laurent and Rue Shairbrook. Even the bridge to the South Shore is moving at normal speed. The absence of incidents means commuters can expect typical travel times for the next hour, roughly 5 to 10 minutes on the expressways and 10 to 15 minutes on the inner-city arteries. As we head toward the lunch rush, the biggest slowdown usually appears on the east-west stretch of Autoroute Quinns near the Descartes interchange, where commuter traffic tends to build after 12 o'clock. Keep an eye on that corridor if you're heading downtown after the break. The transit system remains fully operational with no reported delays on the metro or bus lines. So far, the network is holding steady, and the afternoon should stay predictable unless weather changes.
Taste of the Caribbean explodes at the Clock Tower Pier in the Old Port, offering free street food, cooking demos, music and dance, a perfect way to spice up your lunch break. Soulfest Montreal continues at St. James United Church, delivering 4 days of soul, Motown, R&B, gospel, and funk on both outdoor and indoor stages, so you can catch a classic groove without leaving the city. Cirque du Soleil's Echo exhibition is now open at Time Out Market, letting you wander behind the scenes of the famed circus and see the magic that never makes it onto the stage, a must-see for any art lover. Looking ahead, the Festival Portugal International de Montreal kicks off on July 10 along Rue Rachel, promising 3 days of Portuguese music, food, and culture, so mark your calendar for a taste of Lisbon right here. And now here's Jason with sports.
Here's the latest on Montreal's hockey moves and community initiatives. The Canadiens announced Derek Lalonde joins the coaching staff as an assistant, while Trevor Letowski steps away to focus on family. Forward Alex Newhook will host his third annual golf fundraiser in Newfoundland this August, and defenseman Ivan Demidov received a contract extension, underscoring a team-first approach. Sportsnet reports the Canadiens have hired Derek Newsy Lalonde, adding seasoned expertise to Martin St. Louis bench. The announcement also notes the presence of forwards Datch, Dobies, and Hage, signaling depth considerations as the club refines its roster for the upcoming season. Habs' eyes on the prize confirms the club signed 27-year-old defenseman Riley Walsh to a one-year, two-way deal, adding another right-shot blue liner. The move continues Montreal's off-season trend of bolstering the blue line with versatile right-handed defensemen.
Steve's Music Store in downtown Montreal on St. Catherine Street has announced it will close its doors after 61 years of serving the city's music lovers. Founded in 1965, the family-run shop has stocked guitars, drums, vinyl, and local band merch, becoming a rite of passage for aspiring musicians. The decision comes as rising rent and fierce online competition squeeze margins, forcing the iconic retailer to shutter its last downtown location. Its loss means fewer rehearsal spaces, fewer chance encounters, and a quiet corner of the neighborhood that once buzzed with riffs and laughter. For generations of Montreal musicians, Steve's was more than a store, it was a community hub where talent found its voice. Stay tuned for a preview of the Taste of the Caribbean Festival, bringing flavors and fun to our city right after this.
Coming up tonight at 6, the local sunset. Your neighborhood, your city, your news. From city hall decisions to the stories happening right on your street, we cover what matters most to Montrealers. Join us tonight at 6 p.m. on GMna for the local sunset, Montreal's evening newscast.
Canada's top swimmers have gathered at the Olympic pool in Parc Olympique, Villeray-St. Mitchell Park Extension, to battle for coveted spots on the 2026 national team today. The high-stakes trials will determine who represents the country at next year's World Championships. Carl Dumont is there. Carl Dumont.
Thanks, CJ Waterhouse. I'm standing on the deck of the historic 50-meter Olympic pool, the echo of chlorine and the low hum of the air conditioning system filling the air. The stands are a patchwork of bright red and white banners bearing the Bell logo, and the scent of fresh coffee drifts from the nearby concession. Swimmers in sleek caps line up at the starting blocks, muscles tense, eyes locked on the lane ahead. The crowd murmurs, a mix of family, coaches, and hopeful fans, while officials check timers and wave flags. Over the next 5 days from July 5 to 9, Canada's top swimmers will race heat after heat, each stroke a bid for a spot on the 2026 national team and upcoming world meets. The pressure is palpable. A single fraction of a second can change a career. It's more than a competition, it's the moment a young athlete from a small town steps onto the world stage. Carl Dumont, virtually at Parc Olympique, Centre Sportif.
In the heart of the plateau, beneath the humming streetcars and the aroma of fresh bagels, a team of Montreal police officers gathered early Tuesday to share a quiet victory. Detectives from the anti-drug unit, joined by community volunteers from the local youth center, had just finished a coordinated operation that seized 67 kilograms of cocaine hidden in a delivery van that had been making routine stops along Rue St. Laurent. The haul, wrapped in plain brown paper, was uncovered after officers traced a series of faint tire tracks to a modest warehouse, where the scent of citrus cleaning fluid mingled with the faint buzz of a radio. 3 individuals, 1 from Quebec and 2 from New Brunswick, now face charges and will appear for a bail hearing next week. What matters most, says the lead investigator, is that the streets of our neighborhoods are a little safer, and the families who call this corner home can breathe easier. It's a reminder that when neighbors look out for each other, the community wins.
On a breezy Saturday night in the Plateau's vibrant St. Laurent Boulevard, the air thrummed with the familiar pulse of drums as Festival Nuits d'Afrique kicked off its 40th edition. Longtime organizers Amadou Diarra and Leah Boucher welcomed a crowd that stretched from the sidewalk cafes to the park's fringe, where families and friends gathered under strings of lanterns. Among the returning artists, the legendary griot Mamadou Camara stepped onto the stage, his weather guitar glinting in the streetlights, and the crowd erupted when his voice, still rich with stories of Sahelian sunsets, rose above the hum of the city. A young dancer from Toronto, inspired by watching the festival as a child, joined Camara for an impromptu call and response, their movements weaving tradition with the present moment. The surprise reunion of Camara with his longtime backup singers, who had not performed together since the festival's inaugural year, sparked spontaneous applause that lingered long after the final chord. It is a reminder that 40 years of shared rhythms can still create new memories, and that the heart of Montreal beats a little louder when its neighborhoods come together in song.
Thanks for joining us, Montreal. Tonight's highlight, CF Montreal's hard-fought 2-1 win in the Canadian Championship, reminded us why sport matters. We appreciate your time and look forward to bringing you more stories tomorrow. Until then, stay safe and keep the conversation going as we cover the city's pulse.